All right, well, I am going to begin and thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to be presenting on screencasting tips for distance learning. So I know that a lot of you teachers out there have started creating your own videos for students, and so I thought that I would just put together just a quick 3 tips for screencasting and present them today. And I am Gena. I'm an academic technology specialist at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And Karen Larson is here with me today, and she's going to be my co-host, checking the chat and helping out. And I would like to welcome everybody who is here live. And since we are a small group, if you could just introduce yourself, name, role, and then share something new that you're enjoying doing for the first time. So Karen, do you want to start?
Okay, I'll start. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Larson. I'm the coordinator of computer science at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. Just entering my 26th year in education. But you caught me off guard with that question about something new. Always looking forward to learning and doing new things. Let me circle around back to you. I got to think about that for a minute.
Okay. Joelle, do you want to go?
Sure. Hi, I'm Joelle Hansen. I'm the CTE coordinator at Santa Clara County Office of Education. I need to learn something new, probably something to do with the house, because I've been resisting going to Home Depot to fix some things that I need to fix, thinking that it's gonna, I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't want to tackle it because it's not something that I'm like really interested in, but I need to do. But it's not as an emergency that I need to call someone out. You know, it's not like flooding or anything like that. Little things that I just need to learn because it would just be good for me to do it. And I just need to get myself out there and make my Home Depot list.
Yes, definitely. I know all these home projects are getting done right now while we're in the house. It's amazing. My husband was never really a handyman, but he's becoming one now, and I love it.
That's great.
And then we have one other guest. Do you mind unmuting yourself and introducing yourself? Or if you would like to type it into the chat, you can as well. But so as I'm thinking about something new, and I decided to put this GIF in just because I just think that teachers right now are asked to do so many new things. And that's kind of why I put this question into the chat. And I actually created this GIF when I was in the Union School District. We were asked to do something for a music video, but I had been playing around with animation. So the thing that I've learned is, like, once you try something new, and when you start to get better and better at it, you start to think, well, what's the next thing that I can do? So I started with animation, and then I'm like, oh, I can do animation. Well, what if I combine animation and green screen and then put it together? Can I do something like that? And so I think this is a really unique opportunity for us to start trying new things. And I know that screencasting is new for a lot of teachers. And so that's kind of why I threw this question here in the chat. So I just want to welcome everybody today. And here are my 3 tips for screencasting. And my first tip is to choose a tool that fits your needs. Now, there are a lot of screencasting tools out there, and I have to be honest, I don't know every single one of them, but I do know that Common Sense Education is a great place to check out EdTech reviews. So if you're looking for specific tools to use, you know, for your classroom or with your students, I like to go to Common Sense Education. And so I went there and I just did a search for screencast, And I'm working with teachers over at Lakeside who said that they're using Screencast-O-Matic. This is one that I think a lot of teachers are using right now. What I like about this is that it'll tell you what device you can use it with. So Screencast-O-Matic, if you're using a web device or a computer, that's a good tool. If you're using an iPad, they have other screencasting tools like Screenchomp. I think Explain Everything is on here. For the web, Screencastify is one that I highly recommend. I think that right now there's a code until I think the end of this month. I'll have to look it up, but oh, I had it. But I'll put this in the notes, but they're offering Screencastify Premium, which will allow you to do videos longer than 5 minutes. But that's only till the end of the month. But the reason why I actually really do like Screencastify, and I'm gonna just click in so that you can see. Common Sense will give it reviews. It'll have reviews from teachers, and some of the tools will even have a privacy rating tool link on here. So I wouldn't worry about it too much if you're thinking about screencasting use for just yourself, but if it is a tool that you want your students to use, I would definitely take a look at the privacy rating. So this is the review for Screencastify. And the way that this tool works, actually, it's just an extension that you have. So I have Screencastify right here. If I wanted to screencast what I'm doing, all I would do is click the extension, and I've already allowed it to allow my microphone. If I want my webcam to be there, I can embed the webcam, and I can record just my browser tab or my whole desktop. A lot of times I don't like to screencast my desktop because I don't like everybody to see the like 20 windows that I actually have up. So I normally will just do browser unless I have to show multiple things. And it's just as easy as pressing record. And this is weird. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to do this because I'm actually recording on Zoom, but now I'm recording on Screencastify. But you're going to see that the web camera is in the bottom. And what's nice about this tool is I also have annotation tools. So if I wanted to take a look at, you know, tell about Screencastify and highlight some things on the page, I could definitely do that. And if I needed to pause the video, I could pause the video and then kind of reorient myself. And then when I'm ready to go back to start screencasting, I can press play again and then continue my recording. But let me stop this recording. So I'm gonna pause it and then stop it. What's the nicest thing about Screencastify is that it will upload right away. It's going directly to my Google Drive. And right here is a preview. If I wanted to, let me see. Oh, click to unmute, you know, tell about. So I could unmute it and I can listen to it. If I like it, then this is the video that I'm gonna share. Also, it has capabilities to trim. So even know if I was gonna be able to. I can trim some of the video on the beginning and at the very end. So I like having that. And then here, let me see. Let me cancel this. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do this because I should have just kept it on mute. But the other thing about it is if it's just ready, I could just share it to Google Classroom. I know a lot of you teachers out there are using Google Classroom, but if you wanted to put this like in a message in your stream in Google Classroom, you could do that. Or if you're you have a list going on YouTube, maybe you have a playlist, you can publish it directly to YouTube. So Screencastify is definitely one of my favorite tools to use, but I don't want to limit you just because this is the tool that I know. I would definitely check out Common Sense review page to find a tool that really works for you. But just know that some of the tools out there you do have to pay for if you want some of those premium features. In one of my next tips, I think I'm going to get to like the length of your videos, but Screencastify, once the premium feature does go away, you still get 5 minutes. And I actually think that that's just enough because students don't really have a long attention span. So if you can just break up your lessons into 5-minute chunks, you can definitely use those free versions without having to get into paying for any of these tools, even when it goes back to just their normal pricing. So that is something to be aware of. And then just think about if you want to be doing some screencasting from your computer, or if you have access to a tablet. Do I have my tablet with me right now? I don't have it with me right now, but especially for some of you math teachers, it might act, if you do have an iPad or some sort of tablet with a stylus, it might really be nice for you to draw out some of those things on the tablet. So you can definitely find tools for screencasting for your mobile devices. But I also put a Zoom logo in the bottom corner of this because I don't want you to forget. I've heard that some teachers are actually just starting their own Zoom meetings and recording themselves like what I'm doing right now. So I could be alone in my own Zoom meeting and record it. And then once I end that meeting, if you sent it to the cloud, it'll record to the cloud. Or if you send it to your computer, which is what I prefer, just because I know that it's on my computer, and then from there I'll send it to YouTube or put it into my Google Drive. Teachers are just using Zoom to do their screencasts. So that actually might be a good tool for you if you're used to recording in Zoom anyway. So here's my food for thought. What screencasting tool are you using or are you thinking about using? Maybe I'll ask Karen first, since I know that you do screencasting. What tools do you prefer?
I love Screencastify, and the reason I love that is the simplicity of it. You use the little widget up on your extension in Chrome. It records simply. You can't go in and do any editing, so you just have to be, accept when you make little errors. And when you're working with kids, no big deal. You can trim the beginning and the end, and it goes right to your Google Drive, or like you showed, you can upload it to Classroom if you need to. So I think just for the sake of simplicity, I think Screencastify is such a great tool to use. There's other tools I would use if I wanted to do something more elaborate, but I would say the vast majority of time I use Screencastify.
Nice. Joelle, have you tried any screencasting yet?
I did sign up for Screencastify just to try it out, but I wasn't able to get through, and I need to go to one of your workshops to find out how to really work it. Because I was looking at, if you're doing a Zoom meeting but want to like show like a snippet of something, that this would be kind of like you could kind of share what you did on Screencastify during the Zoom meeting. So sort of like a layered approach, which would be helpful to some of the types of things that I'm doing with like my CTE consortium, to be able to just, oh, well, look at this really quickly, rather than me doing it live.
Mm-hmm.
And then having that available as a resource later.
Yeah, that's a great use of screencasting. Is there anybody else out there who is using any screencasting tools that they might recommend, or maybe you have one that you're thinking about using? I don't know. Jen, are you using any screencasting tools?
I Screencastify, basically. It's pretty straightforward. I've used way back when I used Screencast-O-Matic, I think it was called. I don't even know if it exists anymore.
It does.
Yeah. So,
This
but
one right here.
I think Screencastify is just very intuitive and just easier to use. And I was going to use it actually to do a couple tutorials on just getting logged into distance learning curriculum, because some folks I'm still piloting some curriculum to let them do that. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And if there's anybody else who has any thoughts, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type something into the chat. But as I'm looking at these little icons that I put on the page, it reminded me that, you know, you might actually have a screencasting tool already built into your computer. So for those of you who are using Macs, most of them have QuickTime Player, and QuickTime Player, it has a screen recording feature built right into it. So that's another one that I often use just on my MacBook. And you can do just like Screencastify, you can trim the beginning and the end, but I haven't found, Karen, you can't embed your video on top of a screen recording in QuickTime Player, can you?
I haven't tried that.
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
So
But I've also used Photo Booth on my Mac too. Photo Booth is an awesome tool to do screencasting. In fact, that's what I used when we recorded the readings of the books that we did for Meeting Communications, because ours was like a 9-minute read. I just used Photo Booth and it was perfect. It did great.
That is a great tip. So if you might actually have a screen recording tool right there on your computer. So Photo Booth and QuickTime Player if you're on a Mac. So thank you for that. My next tip for screencasting is just have a clear objective. I think this is the tip where I just wanted to talk about really thinking about keeping those videos nice and short. So, you know, if it's going to be a message that you have to your students, just keep a nice, short, quick message that you have to your students, and then think about where you're going to post it. If you're just posting your videos straight to Google Classroom, I mean, I actually, like, for those kind of videos, sometimes I'll just take my phone and just record myself and then upload it from the Google Classroom app straight to Classroom. That's just a quick and easy way to get like a message out to your students and put it into Google Classroom. Another thing that you can do is record a message and then just embed it into a Google slide. I see a lot of teachers using Google Slides because you can embed YouTube videos, but you don't even have to do YouTube videos. It now takes videos straight from your Google Drive. So as long as you have your video uploaded to your Google Drive and it's shared so anybody with the link can view, or maybe you have it viewable only to specific people, but once you embed those slides into Google, then you have it just like this video is embedded right here. And this is an example of a mini lesson. So the way that I like to organize myself every time that I'm doing my video, in the beginning, I used to write down the script all the time. It just helped me keep focused. So you might start out by doing that, but I'm just telling you that the more that you do it, the easier it gets. And I'm gonna just play this, just a few seconds of this video.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw some stick animals.
Okay, so the way I organize myself is just to say like exactly what you're gonna learn at the very beginning. I say it at the very beginning, I get into my lesson, I try and keep it under 5 minutes, and then at the very end, I repeat that as just more of a reminder to myself, like as a check, yes, this is what I taught you, and you know, you can give your closing message or thanks for watching or whatever, but that's how the tricks that I've used to kind of organize my thoughts and make sure that my videos stay nice and short and succinct and to the point. And I did talk about, you know, embedding your videos in slides, but I did want to, of course, throw in another bonus tool, which is Edpuzzle. So tools for embedding questions into your videos. I know that there are more than just Edpuzzle, but the reason why I'm gonna talk about Edpuzzle is because they're free, and I think they're always going to from what I've read, is they're always trying to keep that tool free. So here's an example of one. This is just a read aloud. I know this is another thing that teachers are doing. They're reading books to students. And what you could do is you could just upload your video into Edpuzzle and then embed questions right in that read aloud. So I have this person reading the book, and then I just put stopping points for just simply, what do you notice and what do you wonder? And this one I just did a note, but you can actually have it an open-ended question where students can type in their answers to what they notice and what they wonder. And on the back end, as the teacher, you're seeing what their answers are. So that's an example of a reading assignment in Edpuzzle. I also found some math examples too. And this one is just, this is Act 1. Oh, this is a 3-act math task, but I pulled it up because at the beginning, another thing that you can do is you can have a video for your students and you can add a voice note on top of it. So this is 9 seconds.
Now that we have established the problem, watch this video to decide what information you need. Please answer the question at the end of the video.
Okay. So there you have a note for your students, and then they can go ahead and watch the video. And then, well, we might as well just watch it. It's really short, most of it. I'm gonna skip a little bit. Okay. So they have to kind of start to do some estimation here. And by the end of it, it says, what information provided in this video will help you determine how many package and individual gumballs will fit in the jar? What additional information? Will you need additional information? So it's an open-ended question, and the students can put in their answers right there, and then the teachers on their end can see and they can grade it. So just to show you a little bit about what that looks like, I think I have it open in another window, so let me just pull that in. Okay, right before this webinar, I did a test. This is an Estimation 180 video, and I was my own student from my other account, and I answered the questions, and it actually says that now on the teacher's end, I have 2 answers to grade. So the question is, what number is too high? And then I can see that my answer was, I think 3,000 is too high. And then the next question was, what number is too low? And so right here, I can just do a quick grade. And I just wanted to tell you that as the teacher, it was super easy to assign this, because here, let me try and go back. This is what I had to do on the teacher's end. All I did was copy it to my library, and this link right here is a link that you can share on Google Classroom. And as soon as you give it to them, they sign in with their Google account, and then they're right into your class. So it's super easy to take a tool like Edpuzzle to layer it over the screencasts that you're making for your students. So that was my last point for really being, if you have your clear objective, you can have your students show their learning through Edpuzzle. So here's my reflection question. What screencasting challenges have you encountered or maybe anticipate? Has anybody encountered any screencasting challenges?
I think for me, it's been wanting to make sure it's perfection, that it's done without any ums or skips, or that everything runs smoothly. And I kind of finally have let that go. Or you'll never get it done, or you'll never get through it. And half the time, only you're the only one that knows that maybe you made a mistake or you said something wrong. So I think that challenge is kind of how I've gone past it. There's one thing I wanted to add, though, Gena, to your conversation about Edpuzzle, and they've been around for so many years now. They are by using Edpuzzle, that's one way to get a YouTube video through domains that block YouTube videos. So if you're a teacher and you want to use a video and you know that your IT department has shut that down, your administrator shut that down, you can use it through Edpuzzle, and it's a great way to share really good educational videos with your students.
Awesome tip. Any other screencasting challenges that people have run into?
I would just say, kind of like what Karen said, when I've done it in the past, I've done it as a reflective process for skills or lessons that I've tried through another project I worked on. And I realized that it didn't matter how I talked and how I presented it. But I did need, what one of your tips was, is just kind of had an idea of like conciseness and not making it too long, because that's important too. So, but yeah, not striving for perfection.
Well, yeah, which is a great point, because that is exactly my next tip. Before I go on to that, I know that like some people have started having Wi-Fi issues when it comes to using something like Screencastify. Like they'll make a video and then it won't fully upload, or it won't really go to their drive. So I know with that, those kinds of things, you just have to be patient and you have to just be willing to maybe try it over again, which is why if you keep your video short, then it'll be easier to redo that video the next time. So rather than go off and do like 20-minute video and then have to do it all over, you're only doing a shorter video.
I had a question about Screencastify.
Yes.
So we tried to use it because we had a project to do a read aloud. And so I ended up just videotaping on my phone and uploading that, which took forever and a day in Google. But what I really wanted to do is I wanted to do Screencastify, where you could see me reading, and then next to it, you see the book and you know what I mean? Like it really is a read aloud. So can you do that? Because I wasn't able to figure it out. So you know what I'm saying? So like if I was a teacher and I wanted to do a short read aloud with my students, and I want them to see me, because that's that engagement piece, not just my voice, but I also want the illustrations in the books so that they can read along with the read aloud, because that's one of the things about helping out with reading comprehension is for students to be reading along while you're reading out loud at a level higher than their reading, their grade level. And so that would really help, but I'm not sure if Screencastify is the way to do it.
So here's what I've done, and anybody can chime in if they've done something else. I just go through with my phone, I take pictures of every page, and then I send it to my computer, and then I just have it up on my computer or put it into like Google Slides. And so then I can read on my screen while having my webcam embedded in the corner so they can see me reading, and I'm just reading straight from that Google Slide presentation. So
I think it would have worked, Joelle, with that book, because we did have it in a PDF form where you could just scroll through it and read. So that would have worked beautifully, except that it was going to be a 9-minute read as opposed to a 5-minute read. And it was, I went all the way through 5 minutes and got cut off, and I was like, oh.
Okay.
That's when I went to photo booth. But yeah, you could have totally done that in Screencastify.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had trouble with that because in the PDF form, I think I just couldn't get it to fit the right way. But I like Jenna's idea of just having it as a slide deck.
That makes much more sense.
Just be easier to click through. And
yeah. But then also having your visual of yourself reading it.
Yeah.
So it's more authentic, so the students see you reading it, but then they see it there next to you. I think that makes it more authentic and a little bit more engaging with our students who can't see us right now face to face.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That was a good one. And my last tip is exactly what we just talked about. Just don't worry about perfection. Just embrace your mistakes and don't be afraid to make mistakes, and then just not even redo the whole video. Just say that you made a mistake, correct it right there on the spot, because you're modeling this for students. We don't expect them to be perfect every single time. And I think, it's good to show them that we're human too. So if you just let that go and know that your videos will definitely improve over time, then it's just going to keep getting better and better, and then you'll just have something to look back on and just laugh over later in the past and see how much you've actually grown. Because I see that a lot in my videos, and trust me, I am a perfectionist. So I really had to learn to let a lot of things go. So, you know, I mean, we've talked a little bit about this, but next step, does anybody have a next step? What's the next screencasting thing that you want to do? Does anybody have one? I'm trying to think about what mine would be.
Well, as I mentioned, I'm probably going to do a couple of quick tutorials on how to log in to some virtual curriculum for alternative ed, actually, so that they can log in and kind of find places to find some, you know, standards-based pieces that they can include in their lessons. So, and then possibly some model lessons. That's maybe a little further down the road.
When I started doing screencasting when I was teaching, I was using EduCreations on an iPad to do some flipped teaching in ELA. And I want to get back to that, you know, playing with a tablet and trying to, and using that tool to do more screencasting. That's just something I've been thinking about.
Nice. And I know Joelle shared a little bit about what she wanted to do. And then now that she brought up the whole reading thing, I'm thinking that I actually want to start doing that and just sharing it with my 4-year-old niece, because I feel like I've been missing so much time with her that I'm finding myself wanting to do stuff for all my nieces and nephews that I haven't been able to see and be around. So I think my next thing will be to do a read aloud for my 4-year-old niece.
Well, and I'm thinking about alternative education, and we have CTE pathways. So I have a culinary arts, well, not my culinary arts, but there's a culinary arts teacher. I could totally see him do a Screencastify, just a real short recipe that the kids that could do, well, maybe in juvenile hall or the ranch, where he could record himself actually doing it, but then the recipe is side by side next to the recipe. So they can see, because to me, a big part of students is that they're auditory, but they're visual also. So if you can get the auditory and visual next to it, especially for something like that's a recipe where, okay, you're going to do this measurement, and then they see how that person does the measurement, right? Because there's like different ways of like measuring, and I forgot what it's called. Instead of scraping it across with the knife, there's a different way of doing measurement. Anyways, but to kind of show that. So I can see this also being a visual for vocabulary that's needed for the content. And that, so when it's side by side, those students who need to see it while it's being said by the teacher demonstrating it is like, you've got your visual and your auditory at the same time. So I can just see it really being powerful in that way.
I love it. That is a great idea, one that I've never thought of before. So for more information, I just keep updating this page. Now I have our upcoming episodes here. We have parent webinar on Thursdays, and all of our archived episodes are all here. So that's where you can get more information. And I thought we'd just do something fun on Wednesday about just getting creative. What kind of creative challenges can we put out there for students for the end of the year? So tune in on Wednesday if you would like to join us live. So thank you for being here. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to email me and I will get back to you. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.